Okay, bonus video time. The bonus is you don't have to look at my ugly mug in the video. So if y'all remember in the previous video, I talked to you about putting pencil marks on the surface, and then we're going to sand it and see if we can make sure and get this thing perfectly flat and parallel. And what I am is I'm really close to having this thing perpendicular. I've been working on the other side, and right now I'm measuring 1 inch 440. This one's measuring 1 inch 445. This is measuring 1 inch 51. And this is measuring 1 inch and 48. So we're close on the thickness all the way around. Close enough that I can work on that to get it in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this side over. This is the side that I put the pencil lines on, and I'm going to work on bringing it down and getting it a little bit flat and parallel. So this is what I told you about. There's lots of hand sanding when you don't have the tools that you need to run these things through and get them flat and parallel. So you're doing it the old-fashioned way. So here's how it goes. We go back and forth across the sandpaper, and we move from side to side. That way we're using all of the sandpaper. We don't prematurely wear out a center section of it or something like that. We just go back and forth, back and forth. Now we're going to wipe it off or blow it off. Okay, that worked out good. I don't know if you can notice there are no pencil marks left. So we know that this side is parallel with all each other. Now let's check and see how our thickness is and see how parallel these two sides are to each other. So this is 1 inch 438. This is 1 inch 442. This is 1 inch 450. And this is 1 inch 448. So it's not exactly perfectly flat, but for what I'm doing, it's going to be flat enough, and I think we're going to be good. So that's what it takes to get this side and this side all in the same plane, all in the same plane, and then these two sides perpendicular with each other. Got to do that with this box. I've got to do it with this box. I've got to do it with the bottom, and I've got to do it with the top. I especially have to make sure that the inside surfaces of the bottom and of the top are flat and parallel, because they've got to match up flat and parallel with these surfaces right here. So I'll be paying particular attention to these surfaces right here to make sure that I do get them nice and flat all the way across. So I want to make sure that I try to keep the same thickness, just like I did over here. Try to keep that same thickness uniformly across both sides. So that's a lot of sanding that has to be done, but now that I know exactly what it takes to do it, this one's going a whole lot easier and quicker than the first one that I did. So I'll be back. Well, welcome back to Eternal Rest. This is video number 4 of the series. I am extremely pleased to tell you that box number 1 is completed. It's assembled. I love the way it turned out, and it is ready for finishing on the surfaces. And then the last thing, of course, I need to do is add the clasp in the front. But this one turned out better than I thought it was going to when I first started with it. As I told you in one of the earlier videos, woodworking is a teaching experience, a learning experience, and I learned a lot putting this one together. Like I said, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get all the surfaces parallel and flat and on plane so that we had good, clean, flat finishes and no gaps. But what I learned putting this one together made box number 2 come together a whole lot faster. Whereas this one took me a little more than 12 hours to complete, Took me about 2.5 hours to do box number 2. And again, everything is ready. Next thing to do for this one is going to be the finish. Well, let me bring in box number 2. I got to tell you, I think the fit, which is how each board sits together, is a lot better than it was on the first one. And that's because I learned from that first one how to do this. And so I really think this is a better box. Now I still need to do some sanding off camera and finish up on things. Like this dark spot right here, that's actually CA glue, which is basically woodworker's super glue. And that's put onto a knot so that it won't fall out. And I can sand that black away, the knot will remain. And so you still get the character of the knots. Now this box, the wood that I used to build this one was in the same board as that one, but this one has more knots in it than that one did. And the knots that were in this one, some of them were a little bit loose, so that's the reason I went ahead and sealed them all up with the CA glue. All the knots in this one, in box number 1, were fine. I didn't have to glue them in. They're all good and tight. So anyway, box number 2 came together a whole lot quicker because I learned from box number 1. Building boxes is higher up on my list than it was earlier. And I'm definitely going to consider making more of these in the future. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and we'll catch you probably Tuesday, if not Wednesday, on a video where I'm putting the finish on the boxes. So anyway, I will catch y'all on the next one. So thanks again for stopping by.